Good day, everybody. Welcome to Medimetrics station and to our Money for Business talk show. I'm here with you, Oleg Ivanov, founder of Crypto Bazaar. And as you well know, during our talk show, we are having different discussions with top leading blockchain companies and their representatives, trying to figure it out what is happening in the space at the moment, what are the hot projects, what are the hot topics, what we should be focusing our attention to. And today I would like to welcome one of our now good friends in actually both meanings of this word, Ian Friend from Ferrum Network. Ian, thank you very much for joining us.
Oleg, it's a real pleasure to be here.
Cool.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, listen, our first question usually, since we are having all this, a little bit in this space, you get familiar with the fact that everybody is so distributed, like all the teams are located in different places. So what about you? Where are you based at the moment?
Yeah, that couldn't be truer for Ferrum as well. The core team is presently in New York City, but we have a team in pretty much every region, a team member in every region of the world, from Australia to many places in Europe, west coast of the United States, Silicon Valley. Many different teammates
Sweet.
around. So.
Sweet. So yeah, from what we could try to see from the corner of your window, it looks like an early morning for you. So I hope you had a good sleep at least before.
Well, haven't been sleeping a lot the past few weeks. We're prepping for the ICO, which is coming up in now just a couple days.
Right.
So it's been very, very busy, but we're loving every minute of it.
Cool. All right. So for those of our listeners who are probably not very familiar with what Ferrum Network is, can you briefly try to describe what you guys are trying to do and what is the project about?
Sure. So Ferrum Network can really be thought of as two interconnected layers. You have a high-speed interoperability protocol that essentially connects blockchains to one single DAG-based ledger that then enables any digital asset to be exchanged and transacted very quickly in a decentralized way over that network. So in simple terms, you can now, with Ferrum Network, move a Bitcoin in milliseconds for almost no fees. The second component, and this is really important, are the financial applications we're building on top of the network. And I say it's important because I think one big problem you see in the utility token space is the fact that not a lot of these projects actually have utility because no one's using them. Many projects took the approach of, we'll build a really cool network and it's going to be better than Ethereum and everyone's going to use it. Well, clearly that hasn't been the case for the vast majority of those projects and networks. We wanted to take a different approach, which is build useful products that solve people's problems, acquire users for those products, and then migrate those products onto our network so that on day one of mainnet, we actually have utility and use case for the Ferrum Network token.
Wow, that's a different approach altogether, I would say.
It was sort of born out of necessity in many respects, but also I think solves a great problem in the utility token world, which is lack of utility. So to get a little more specific, we for the past 8 months or so really had been focused on our first product, which will be running on the Ferrum Network, called Kuti Exchange. This is a fiat to crypto exchange plus payments app. But it's based in Africa and it's designed for the African market, which is actually a huge crypto market, believe it or not.
Yeah, it is.
What this means is that our Kuti users, it launched in May. It's growing very fast. Engagement is high, and what it means is that these users who are now buying and selling Bitcoin using Kuti or sending Naira using Kuti, they will then become Ferrum Network users.
Right.
And on day one of mainnet launch, those transactions will be Ferrum Network transactions and actually require Ferrum Network tokens to be spent and burned.
Right. Why would they need Ferrum Network? I mean, why are they not just stay as they are? Are they moving to a sort of a decentralized exchange type of framework, or what's the point behind it?
Right. So there's a few distinct benefits to migrating onto the Ferrum network. Yeah, chiefly, Ferrum network as a decentralized solution doesn't take custody of assets. So that's one big thing. But secondly, Ferrum network as an interoperability protocol makes it very easy then to add other crypto into that exchange and then providing those assets to the end user. So whether it's adding Ethereum, Ripple, BNB, any other tokens, we can very easily do that using Ferrum network technology.
Right. But once again, so we're talking about a centralized exchange right now, right? So if we just go a little bit deeper, I'm trying to understand it, sorry. So we're having this exchange, right? So it's up and running already. It has its own users. Apparently, they must have already a certain list of cryptos that they are, trading there. Especially from the top coin market cap list mostly. Now, can you just try to explain once again this thing that you were trying to just give as an example that you guys are going to do with Ethereum and all the other tokens like BNB and whatever? So
Sure.
what's going to be different?
One thing important to understand about Kuti Exchange is it's not like a trader's exchange. It's much more like a Coinbase. It's designed for novices.
Okay.
It's very simple. It's a mobile app.
Mm-hmm.
So the second component beyond being able to easily integrate with other assets is the fact that Ferrum network technology, which allows you to, like I said before, you can send Bitcoin around really fast. That also works with fiat currencies.
Right.
So with Kuti Exchange, it's not just a way to buy and sell Bitcoin. Mm-hmm. It's actually much bigger than that. It's also a means of sending real currency like the Naira, which is Nigerian fiat money, instantly for no fees. And that's what Ferrum network technology enables. So I think there's a number of benefits to migrating onto the Ferrum network. It's not going to add any friction to the end user there because Kuti, the company of which Ferrum's co-owners of, will actually cover the costs of those transactions which are spent in the form of Ferrum tokens, so that the end user doesn't have to press another button that says, spend the Ferrum token or what have you. That'll happen seamlessly on the back end. The user just is using a really fast, cool technology that solves problems in their life.
Oh, okay. Now I understand. So yeah, first of all, it's basically speeding up the process for pretty much any currency, whether it be crypto or traditional fiat, and secondly, expanding the amount of currencies, I guess, that you could be using through this interface, right?
Exactly. Yep. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Cool. Got it. Now, if we look into like your traditional landscape, right? I mean, there's so many projects doing so many things. I'm sure you guys are following some guys. I mean, some of the projects, and you would regard them as your competitors. Maybe some of the other ones would be your potential clients, or I don't know, suppliers and whatever. So, could you also, like, in a couple of words, try to describe this landscape? Who is who for you?
Sure. Well, we've never really taken the approach that this very small niche industry of like-minded people should really be competing against each other in a real cutthroat way. Our vision is much more one of bringing people together and expanding the user base to people who may not already be using crypto, rather than fighting over the few, how many millions of people. It's really not that many, right?
True, but at the same time, I mean, I would try to rephrase that. We're more talking, I mean, my question was more related to the technology. I mean, okay, there are so many teams that are dealing with, trying to crack like a certain point of technology. Okay, of course, the markets, the audience, everybody has their own different approaches and maybe geographical locations and so on. So that we do understand. In terms of the technologies, like who you would track as your peers? Let's put it this way, maybe.
I see. Yes, sure. So yeah, I mean, there's a handful of interoperability networks out there. Cosmos is a notable one.
Of course.
You have some of the smaller players, Fusion, and a handful of others that are doing great things, no doubt.
Right.
Our approach was never to say, let's go head to head with a project that raised $100 million and try to beat them on marketing, on having all the sexiest advisors. No, no.
Right. That
Our
would be
approach
very
was,
brave, though.
you know, it was you build useful products, solve people's problems, acquire users for those products, and then migrate them onto our own network, such that you know I don't know how a lot of those competitors have been progressing of late. I've been too busy focusing on my own project, frankly. But I'd be surprised if many of them had actual daily transactions on their network.
Right.
Whereas Ferrum, day one of mainnet launch, is projected to have thousands just by virtue of the African users alone. So that's been how we differentiate ourselves. Whether it succeeds or not, we'll have
Right.
to see.
Right. So it's more of a, let's say, maybe like a healthy business approach rather than like a pure technology approach as the first step, right?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, our backgrounds are much more from traditional tech world. I myself was a lawyer for many years in New York City, and so we take more of a traditional approach. We see the crypto market as sort of evolving into a much more traditional venture type market where investors want to see traction. They want to see maybe not revenue, because revenue doesn't have any real connection to the value of utility
Right.
token. But they want to see utility, right?
Usage, yeah, users.
And they also don't want to see outrageous valuations anymore, because that just hurts them. So I mean, we differentiate ourselves on that level too, because we're only raising 1.12 million anyway.
Right.
So I think a number of different things we're doing to differentiate ourselves. But again, it's a grand experiment. No one knows what's going to happen over the next few years.
Yeah, totally. Well, I would totally agree with you. It does sound, very reasonable and very, very healthy. So it's great that you guys are having such an approach, like a healthy sort of business approach rather than, again, just a pure technology approach. Now, if we just, touch a little bit on your roadmap, maybe I know that you guys announced a lot of should I call them, I don't know, launches or integrations just following the launch of the mainnet. What's coming very, maybe at the launch of the mainnet and anything else maybe down the road, half a year from now, 1 year from now?
Sure. So there's actually a few exciting launches even prior to mainnet. So we're releasing another product that will be running on the Ferrum network, and that's called Unifier wallet. And this is a non-custodial, multi-currency wallet. It will be available to everyone around the world, as compared to Kuti, which is really only for Africans.
Right.
In version 1, I think is very interesting and very neat. It solves, I think, one of my frankly biggest problems in crypto is trusting yourself not to mess up the management of your own private keys.
Oh yes. Oh my God.
So,
you
yeah,
nailed
so
it.
either
Yeah.
you trust an exchange, right? It's either you trust an exchange, or you trust yourself,
Right.
and that's sort of where the space is now. With using some advanced encryption technology, we can actually still be a non-custodial wallet, never know or hold your private keys, and yet if you lose your phone or somehow make a mistake in the process, we can actually still recover them for you.
Oh,
So
beautiful.
that's something I'm really excited about. Unifier Wallet's going to launch with a handful of the best, most useful tokens and currencies in it, and we're actually going to make a really big announcement about that tomorrow, as a matter of fact. So
Wow.
please stay tuned for that.
Nice. So I guess we just got an exclusive, I guess, right?
I think you did. Yeah, I wasn't intending to say that, but
All right. Well, thanks very much for that. Cool. Nice. All right. So if we try to maybe step back a little bit and look into the space in general, how do you see the whole space, the blockchain space, evolve maybe over the years? Let's say 5-10 years from now, would there still be so many players, protocols, solutions, or there would be some, I don't know, M&A deals, consolidation, and so on and so forth, industry players coming in and buying out? What are your thoughts?
Sure. So while it's impossible to predict the future.
No,
I
of
think
course, yeah.
a nice analog is the .com craze of the early '90s, where there was thousands and thousands of online companies, many of which really had no value, no true value, and you saw the bubble crash and basically a consolidation into a few major players. I hope that it doesn't consolidate to the extent that the traditional world of internet now exists, with about 5 companies that just rule
Yeah,
everything.
yeah.
I hope it doesn't get to that point. But yeah, I mean, not every single crypto project can survive. I mean, you've already seen since 2017,
Sure.
I think probably the vast majority have failed. And
Sure.
really now you're left with the people who truly care about the space, trying to solve real problems with decentralized technology. I think the key too is that you're not going to see blockchain necessarily at the fore of everything. It's going to be, I think, more of a back end process that just solves problems rather than something that people use to advertise and are throwing in front of the users. Because average person doesn't care about blockchain, right? They care about, is something faster, is it cheaper, does it solve a problem better than the predecessor product?
Right.
And so that's what I think you're going to see it going. But my guess, what do I know, right?
Oh well, I mean, yeah, it's still I mean, that's the reason I'm asking, right? So it's the more opinions you would get, the better vision probably we might have. But yeah, so basically, your point is that most likely the technology itself would probably stay. If we draw a parallel here, maybe with like a web browser world, right? So this would be like within the TCP/IP sort of layer, and then the browser layer would with the interface, the user interface and so on. This would be most likely pretty much the same as it is right now, right?
Yeah, I think that's a great analogy, right? Where sort of the back end stuff is not known to the user. There's maybe a pretty interface. I mean, there's a reason why Coinbase is probably the most popular product in crypto. It's because they have a beautiful user experience. It's
Very
very
true.
simple to use, and your grandmother could theoretically use it. Whereas other products, I think, are struggling. So if you're too complicated, if you focus too much on just the technology aspect, I don't see how you bring in a wider audience, and that's really what we need. I mean, to make the overall market cap of Bitcoin and all the other assets go back to where it was and even higher, you're going to need to bring in more people. So let's focus on solving problems and making things simple for them.
Right, right. Also, if we go a little bit into the team that you guys are, that you built around yourself. So since you're spending so much time on actually reversing, I would say, the trend in blockchain, maybe starting with actually solving the actual business problem and then migrating this whole thing to blockchain protocols. What can you probably cover a couple of areas, maybe a couple of experience of what you guys did before? Like, why would you actually go into all these areas as payments, as exchanges, wallets, and so on? And again, the markets. Why did you pick, Nigeria and?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, sure. So unfortunately, my co-founder couldn't be on this call this morning. I mean, he's really the sort of tech mastermind behind the whole thing, and his background was, he's been coding since age 10 or whatever, has a PhD in distributed database systems, and worked at the biggest tech companies, and also had a payments company back in Canada, as a matter of fact. So, I mean, I think he's the real sort of visionary behind, the Ferrum,
Right.
and he built the technology and all that. So, I mean, that probably question is a little better suited for him, but I think I just gave you a nice rundown of his background.
Sure.
The reason we chose Africa as the first sort of test market for Ferrum products was a bit by happenstance, but then also after diving into that market and looking at it from a business standpoint, it actually is a tremendous opportunity for cryptocurrencies in general, and of course for Kuti. So Africa is, and Nigeria in particular, is really it's a huge country. There's 200 million people in it. It's one of the fastest growing countries in the world.
Right.
But beyond that, there's a fast growing middle class with an appetite for technology to solve their problems, and the existing technological and financial solutions out there are not what would expect in the West, although it's rapidly improving. So
Right.
you have an appetite for new technology, a lot of people, and you also have inherent problems with their own fiat currencies. For instance, the naira has lost 50% of its value since 2013.
Wow.
So what that means is that people actually see the value in crypto not just from a speculative buy and hold standpoint or trader standpoint like we have in the West, but rather as a medium of exchange and unit of account, because it actually is it's arguably more reliable than their own currency, and certainly U.S. dollar-backed stable coins
Sure.
are more
Sure.
reliable than the naira in my opinion at least. So there's already an appetite for it. It's a great market. Other companies, there's a few, have scaled up in that market and proven it's a successful market. So we're really bullish on Nigeria and Africa in general.
Nice, nice. Yeah. Well, I mean, we're on air now across Russian-speaking countries, so we understand what inflation is. I mean, so we
Yeah,
totally hear
exactly.
this.
So, and by the way, I want to give a shout out to all our Russian and Eastern European community members. We really love you guys. Thank you for your support. You guys were actually, your country was one of the early supporters of Ferrum Network. You've been continuing to support Ferrum Network. You guys are signing up for the ICO like crazy. So thank you for the support for sure.
Cool. All right. Great. Great. Yeah. So since you just mentioned about ICO and rounds, can you walk us through your current state and the stages of the capital raise, like where it all started, how much you guys raised, what's the valuation, maybe some of the details about, I don't know, like tokenomics or prices and lockups that you had at different rounds?
Sure. So, again, I think we like to take different approaches at Ferrum as compared to what a lot of other projects do, and that begins with the technology and the business approach, but also the token metrics and the valuation. So basically, we're raising only 1.12 million in all rounds.
Really?
We closed a seed round earlier in the year. We then closed a private 1 and private 2 round 2-3 months ago. And now we're moving into the public sale round, which is scheduled for August 1. Seed round, by the way, all the lockups investing schedule is the same for all rounds because we felt we wanted to be equal to everybody. The only difference really between the rounds is how much bonus you got. And in the early investor, the early believed in Ferrum, at that time we had much less traction, and you effectively locked up your money for a long time. You get rewarded for that. So that's really, we sort of wanted to keep things fair.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, so the public sale is now coming up August 1st. It's a very small $300,000 raise. We're really not raising more than we need to. And that's in large part because we have some innovative structures in place that allow us to achieve our roadmap goals and unlock some additional capital, assuming we get traction on the network. And that's called the traction-based reserve model, which I'm happy to dive into a little bit because I think it's quite unique.
Yeah, that's very interesting. So let me just get it right. So through all your rounds, starting from the seed round and so on, the private rounds, and the public round, you're raising only, as you said, $1.52 million. Is that correct?
1.12.
Oh, okay. Wow. Okay. So
Yes.
would that be enough for you guys to actually, pull it all together and, okay, not compete with Cosmos, of course, but then be at least at the level, or?
Yeah, sure. So that's obviously the first question everyone asks when I think they love the low raise and they respect it, but then they ask, okay, how can you achieve what you're trying to do?
Sure.
So I think it really starts with having a true startup mentality and a real frugal mentality. I mean, the reality is we survived on about $100,000 seed raise for 8 months and built a fiat gateway in Africa, marketed it a little bit, and even acquired users on that product.
Sweet.
I mean, I think we've proven that we can build things on a very low budget. But secondly, we developed this thing that this traction-based reserve model that allows us to unlock additional capital down the line, assuming we hit assuming the network gains traction.
Right.
And how this works is, we're selling 23% of tokens at all phases of the sale, and that's at a slightly over $5 million valuation.
Yeah. Okay.
17% of tokens, which other projects may have just sold 40%, right, and raised $6 million, whatever.
Right.
We didn't want to do that because you see, in this market especially, you're seeing what happens when you raise, even a little bit too much, and people think you're overvalued. The price just dumps immediately.
Right.
And it's hard to recover from that. So we didn't want that to happen. So what we did was, let's reserve these 17% that may have otherwise been sold in a traction, in a reserve that's locked for a year, and then it's slowly released as the network gains traction. And what I mean by that is, in a Ferrum network, every time a transaction is run, you need to spend a Ferrum token as gas. It's like Ethereum,
right.
Any other gas. The unique thing is that due to the consensus mechanism we've built, it's actually every time a Ferrum is spent, it's burned.
Okay.
So how this relates to the traction model is that every month starting after this year, we're going to look at and we're going to see, and the mainnet will have been released by then, and these burnings will have happened, assuming we execute and do.
Sure, yeah.
Every month we'll say, okay, we burned 10,000 Ferrum tokens, 100,000 Ferrum tokens. A certain ratio will actually then be released from the traction reserve, and we can either sell the market or hang on to it, whatever the case may be. But basically, this allows us to access additional capital if we execute on the plan, and it doesn't really increase the overall supply, supply in the market, because the amount that's being released is actually going to be less than the amount that had been burned that month.
Right. Okay.
If that makes sense.
Okay. Very interesting.
I sort of call it betting. I call it betting on yourself. Instead of putting the risk on the investors and saying, "Oh, here, let's raise $6 million. Let's hope we can do it. Well, let's do it, right? Let's raise less. This is good for everybody, I think, and bet on ourselves that we can actually do what we're claiming we're going to do, and then be rewarded for it down the line."
Right. Well, another sound approach, I would say. So yeah, thanks for actually thinking through this and implementing it. Now, just going back a little bit about lockups, can you sort of uncover this thing a little bit again?
Yeah, sure. So I guess I can go through all the rounds. So
okay.
Everyone's lockup is 40-40-20 in the sense that they get 40% initially, 40% 30 days after, and 20% 30 days after that. So no one's locked up for very long, which was important for us because I don't think you want unlocks dragging out for a year, right? It really hurts the whole proposal. So the seed's first release is 30 days after TGE.
Okay.
With private, you get 40% unlocked at TGE, 40% a month later, 20% a month after, and public is actually the same.
Right.
And again, the reason why we wanted to do this is because we really we looked and said, why should rounds be so drastically different? I think we're trying, we strive for fairness and equality as a company, so I think it's a fair and reasonable approach when in terms of a vesting schedule.
Right.
It's the only difference is the bonus, frankly.
Sure.
Which makes a pretty reasonable thing to do.
No, I'm sure you guys, were working on a question like what are you guys planning to do with all this massive liquidity that you're going to have within pretty much a couple of months after TGE. So to support it on the exchange, I don't know, staking approaches, like any other thoughts there? What are your plans there?
Yeah, that's a great question. So, the one nice thing about having a low cap is that even when everything is liquid, it's actually not that much money to worry. It's not a ton
Yeah, yeah,
of money to worry about. But of course, you still have to have plans. So, one of the big you mentioned staking. One of the big um, features of the Ferrum network and then also the Unifier wallet is Ferrum network will have staking as a means of um, providing additional security on the network and rewarding nodes for helping to confirm transactions. And this staking will actually be implemented through the Unifier wallet.
okay,
So really, with the click of a button, you can stake your tokens, and there'll be a whole staking schedule released, and we're going to announce the amounts and things of that nature in the not too distant future. And so we want to make it easy for people who want to stake and who believe in the project long term. The other thing we're doing actually, which I think is quite unique, this was just announced last week, is a marketing tool that's called social mining. Um, it basically solves a problem of bounties are great. You can incentivize people to do certain things, but they're not really sustainable. Bounty hunters tend to do the bounty. Um, Many of them might not have a lot of influence anyway, so it might even really benefit the project.
right,
And then they just dump your token.
right,
Social mining is really a different thing entirely. And what it does is um, everyone in the community can sign up. It's a really simple interface. LTO's done this. Elron's done this. Other top projects are bringing it on. We're actually going to be we're the next ones that are doing it after LTO and Elron.
okay,
And so basically, what you sign up, very simple. And every time you do a valuable task on behalf of Ferrum, you get rewarded with points, which then correspond to a consistent payout of Ferrum tokens. But it's not just based on the tasks that you do; it's also based on the amount that you're holding of Ferrum tokens. The idea is you really want to incentivize true believers and holders of the project, people who are adding value. The other thing to note is that we're not, we as the project aren't, a dictator determining the value of someone's tweet or someone's article or someone's video.
right,
It's actually the community itself that looks at it and then either upvotes or downvotes it, and then basically they're the ones that are determining how much value it has. So it really is sort of a decentralized ecosystem where people can reward other contributors for their value adds, and of course, but you also need to hold some Ferrum tokens to receive those rewards. So from our view, it's sort of a best of all worlds, and we're really excited to get it started.
nice, nice. That, yeah, looks very interesting. So yeah, we're moving on to pretty much the end of our torture of you. So,
Fun.
yeah, but thanks. Yeah, it's I mean it's very interesting, actually, very exciting, at least I'm sure to most of our viewers and listeners. But for me personally, it is a sort of a fresh breath of different approach. So thanks for doing this, really. Um,
It's my pleasure. I come on anytime. Like I said, we really love our Russian community, so anything we can do to give back, and I know you have a global audience, but certainly anything we can do to give back to our Russian community, we're happy to do it.
Totally. Well, thanks very much for saying that. Couple of maybe closing comments, if you would like. I mean, if you would allow me to do this. First of all, let's try to picture the future. 5-10 years from now, everything that you guys planned, like everything, it's already, I mean, it's done and dusted. So can you describe this picture?
Wow. Well, when you're building a company, it's never really done, right? So there's always gonna be challenges, always gonna be headaches.
I know,
Trouble.
but you have something laying on the table right now, so
But
that's
yeah, it'll be look. It will be really nice to be able to look around and say, we've built a real thing. We're solving customers' problems. The people who believed in us early on were rewarded tremendously. All our hard work's paid off. I can finally pay off some of my law school debt. That kind of thing. So look, I'm a simple guy. At the end of the day,
Sure, sure.
we're having fun over here. We're trying to do the right things, and we hope everyone succeeds in doing so.
Right. So, any other metrics there except for the the paying out of the loans and whatever? Sorry
Well,
about that.
I mean, we all have financial goals and dreams and
Sure.
stuff, but this for me was never about just making a ton of money. It was,
Right.
uh,
Well, maybe a
um,
number of users. I don't know, like geographies that you guys want to cover.
yeah. So I mean, look, Africa. We're just getting started in Africa with Kuti, so we'll be staying to Ghana next. That's actually imminent, I think, within the next month or two,
Wow.
and then Kenya's in the pipeline as well. There's so many other countries there that could use this solution. They're already using Bitcoin, but they have no real proper means of buying and selling. They have to do like local Bitcoins and stuff. So Africa is this huge market, and
Sure.
we're also looking to expand into Europe. Honestly, there's, I think, a big potential market there for us apps similar to Kuti, but branded in sort of a different way with some different features, but a fiat gateway effectively.
Right.
And really, we want Ferrum to become sort of your one-stop shop for crypto, where you can buy it using our fiat on ramps. You can exchange it over a decentralized exchange. You can store it in a really secure cold wallet, and you can also do OCC trading and other things with the Unifier wallet. So it's really we wanted a worldwide ecosystem. People, we're about to do a massive marketing campaign in Asia with our exchange partner. We'd love to do something in Russia, honestly. I mean, Latin America. There's so many places around the world I think could use our solutions,
Right.
and it's just a matter of finding the right people, the resources and everything like that. But we're really intent on bringing crypto into the hands of many millions of more people.
Nice. Nice. Now, having this picture in front of you, of the future. Uh, Usually, you would need resources, right? I don't know, time, financial resources, and apparently people, right? So, if we go down into this topic, can you name maybe some of the people or some of the names of I don't know, from any industry, of those who might not be even alive already, anymore? Who would you want to have in your team to actually have this have this trip more enjoyable and maybe more resultful?
Ah, that's a great question. I mean, I think any tech company would love to have Steve Jobs on their team.
Very true. Very true.
Although here he was pretty tough to work with, but
Well, you got
to
the
have
job done though, right?
yeah, I mean, so Steve, we can add Steve Jobs to the team. I don't know. Elon Musk might be pretty good on the team. I
Yeah.
don't know.
Yeah.
There's a handful of guys, but the truth is, we're happy with the team we have now. We've gotten really far with, I think, a small but really passionate and dedicated team who believes in the vision and works tremendously hard for, frankly, not a lot of compensation, because
Sure.
we don't have a ton of money.
Sure.
So we're super excited. Our team has been great, and a big shout out to everyone. Dom and TK, Joey, Robin, Willem, all the TLG guys, Etienne, who's been with us from the beginning. Everyone on the team. I'm sure I'm forgetting people. All the international community managers. You guys have been fantastic. I mean, so the team is great. We love the team, but yeah, we'll take Steve Jobs if
All right.
he's lying
I'm
down somewhere.
sure you guys would not. I mean, the team wouldn't mind, I guess. So, cool, cool. All right. Well, thanks very much, Ian. It's been very, very enjoyable and very insightful as well. And all the best of luck. I know that you guys. When is the launch? I mean, the public ICO is pretty much like in a few days, right?
Yeah, so it's next Thursday. It's on August 1st at
Okay.
8 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Um, all the information about it can be, you know, you go to Ferrum Network. It is first come, first serve. You got to do KYC. I got to be honest, there's a lot more demand than there's supply, but
Sure.
the good news is we're going to be listing on a really, really one of the best exchanges, I think, in the whole world, about 4 or
Well,
5 days after the ICO anyway. So you can always buy it there.
beautiful, beautiful. Well, thanks very much again for the intro and for all the details, and all the best of luck for you next week. We'll definitely try to support you as much as you can. I mean, as much as we can. And thanks again.
Thank you so much, Oleg. It's a pleasure.
My pleasure. Cheers. Have a good time.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you.